Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Alrighty, I've been wanting to do this video for a few years now, but I always forget to do it, and by the time I remember it, it's always like August or September, and like it's too late to do this video at that point. But finally, I remembered. I remembered to finally record this video, and that is the mid-year freakout tag for books. Now, we've got 9 questions to get through for this tag, so without any further ado, let's get right on into it. And if you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to give it a like and subscribe. The first question for this tag is, what is the best book that you've read so far in 2026? I would have to say probably The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I am rereading the series for... Well, I want to say like I'm rereading the series because in anticipation for the new movie that's coming out, but honestly, I just kind of wanted to revisit the series just in general. So yeah, but anyway, The Hunger Games, I think is a masterpiece. In my opinion, there is a plethora of reasons why it has become like a modern classic and why it is so held up in its genre and why it is still so loved and revered to this day. Like it really, really is. I made a whole short explaining my thoughts more on that. So it's somewhere on my channel. If you want to go see my full thoughts on it, go watch that short. But anyway, yes, best book that I've read so far in 2026, The Hunger Games. What has been your favorite sequel of the first half of the year? Now, I actually have 2 answers for this. A, Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Again, same reasons that I love The Hunger Games. It's just amazing. I find the plot, the characters, the themes, and the way that those themes are executed just very, very universally timely, especially if you live in some place like the United States. Especially for younger audiences, these are really good to like introduce them to more ideas of like fascism and like why it's a bad thing and like why we should not accept it and how it gets so deeply ingrained into our culture. But my other answer for this question is Father Material by Alexis Hall. Now this is the 3rd and final book in the London Calling Boyfriend Material series. Now, this book had a lot to prove after what was Husband Material. And if you've read Husband Material, you know exactly why I say that, because everybody and their mother can agree that Husband Material was a book. It had words. Yeah. So needless to say, I was kind of scared going into Father Material, but I can honestly say that this is a great novel. It is probably either I honestly don't know. I can't really decide if it is my favorite of the series or not. I need to reread Boyfriend Material. It's been so many years since I've read Boyfriend Material. Anyway, but like this is just so good. The plot, I found the chaos and the conflict that the circumstances of what our characters are put into to be very interesting. And also, I felt like everything that they went through was like a very good test for their relationship, in all honesty. And it just honestly reminded me of why I fell in love with this series, the characters, and the writing style in the first place. So yeah, I loved Father Material. Is there a new release that you haven't read yet, but you're really excited to? That would be The Secret World of Briar Rose by Cindy Pham, aka Read with Cindy here on YouTube. Now, I am interested in this one both because I like Cindy as a content creator and I've watched her for many years, so I am curious to see, her writing as a whole. But also, even if she wasn't like a YouTuber and I wasn't like, a subscriber of her, I would still be interested in this novel because A, well, the cover's gorgeous. The cover is kind of selling me, but also B, the premise of like this retelling of like Sleeping Beauty. I had to remember which Princess Briar Rose was for a second. But anyway, this like retelling of Sleeping Beauty, that the way that she like describes it, it sounded very, very interesting in her video when she was talking about it. And so I was like, huh, I want to read that. That actually sounds really, really cool. This like dream landscape and it's kind of like sapphic Sleeping Beauty. Like I'm interested to see what this is about. I'm curious. I'm curious. So yes, I do want to read that at some point this year. What is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? Now, I actually have 2 answers for this one. One, that's 2. 1, okay, 1, we can count. 1, Empire by Sabaa Tahir. It is the sequel to Air, which I read a couple years ago. I think it was like in 2024 4, I want to believe. It's the spin-off the continuation series of her like Ember in the Ashes series. It takes place in the same world like 20 years later. And I freaking loved Air. I loved the characters. I loved what was going on. And I was really, really invested in seeing how things would go forth in the sequel. And so yes, I'm very excited to read Empire. And also everything that I've read by Sabathir has gotten 5 stars. So, needless to say, I am really, really excited to see what Mother puts out next. I really, really am. And also, the second book that I'm really, really looking forward to is The Private Correspondence by Casey McQuiston. This is like the sequel novella, I think. I think it's a novella. It might be a full-fledged novel. But it's the sequel novella to Red, White, and Royal Blue. And if you have been here on my Twitter, anywhere, if you have followed me anywhere for a hot minute, you know that I am ride or die for Red, White, and Royal Blue. So, of course, when they announced that The Private Correspondence was coming out, I'm like, yes, 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 take my money. Take my money immediately. I will be waiting here, and on the day that it comes out, I will be at my mailbox waiting for the mailman. Trust, 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 trust. Needless to say, I'm very excited for it. So yes, those are my 2 most anticipated reads of the year. I have a few others that I'm really looking forward to, like the Once Upon a Broken Heart novella that I think is coming out this year. I think it's coming out this year. I'm also really looking forward to the Six of Crows novella that's coming out later this year. Or is it already out by the time of this video comes out? I don't know. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to those. But Empire and The Perfect Correspondence, those are my top ones. What is your biggest disappointment so far? This would have to go to Out of the Blue by Jason June. It's a YA romance. Well, YA urban fantasy. It claims that it's a romance, but it's not really a romance, because it doesn't fit romance by definition anyways. But I was really, really disappointed by this novel because I've had it saved for a few years. I think I've had it saved for 2 years on my TBR, and I've been wanting to read it for a little bit, but it was just never really the right time because I always wanted to read it during summer. But then for the last 2 years, stuff other releases would just catch my eye more. And by the time I remembered about this book, I was just it's fall, it's winter, it's a summer book. We need to read it during the summer. Merperson coming onto land and falling in love with a human, Little Mermaid-esque sort of love story like that. It's cute, but it claims that it's a romance. It's not a romance because it's categorically not a romance. I can't say more than that without getting into spoilers. But if you know what qualifies as a romance, if you know the one thing that makes a book a romance, the one thing that makes a book a romance, this book does not do that. So it's okay, so you played in my face. I didn't know you were going to play in my face, but you did. Okay, so now I feel like I wasted my time. I feel like I wasted my time because I wasn't enjoying my reading of this novel. I wasn't. There were some things that made me uncomfortable. Again, I have a rant. That's a short, so go see that. But yeah, basically, I wasn't having a good time with it, but I really was intrigued by the conflict that was really going on, and I was interested how it would be resolved. And when it got resolved, I was just I wasted my time. I feel disappointed. So yeah, oh well. What is your biggest surprise so far? Now, this one also has 2 answers. Number 1, the entire Game Changer series by Rachel Reed. The books that inspired the Heated Rivalry TV show. I was very pleasantly surprised by this series. And here's why I became very surprised by it. Because normally when it comes to series, I like to wait a couple months before I continue on with them. I don't like to read books in the same series, one right after the other, because I usually feel like I get burnt out of that world, of that writing style, of the characters, or whatever, if I just consume them all at once. But with the Game Changer series, I was very much I need to read all of them right now. I do. I don't know why. I started in January with Heated Rivalry and Game Changer, and then when I got through those, I went on to Tough Guy in February. And then from then on, I forced myself to read a couple books in between each other entry, just in case I would get burnt out. Every single time that I would be reading other books in between the Game Changer series, I was just like, I want to be reading my hockey yaoi smut. I want to be reading about my hockey yaoi boys. I'm so sorry. These other books that I'm reading are great, but I am desperate to get back to the Game Changer series, which has never happened before. So that was very, very surprising. I've never had that experience, and it was kind of thrilling, honestly. It was really cool. But the other really big surprise is The Dead Husband Cookbook by Danielle Valentine. Now, this is a adult thriller. It's about this woman who goes to this Martha Stewart-esque lady's house to help write her memoir and everything, and she discovers creepy things about her past and creepy odd things on the property and about her family, and she gets really weirded out while she stays there editing this woman's memoir. And I was really, really surprised by this one simply because I read thrillers pretty often. So, I enjoy thrillers, but, I wasn't expecting this one to be oh my God, I'm falling in love with this. This is really, really cool. Da, 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 da. But I wasn't expecting this to be a standout by any means. I was just expecting this to be another fun thriller that I would discuss at the end of the year wrap up or whatever. But honestly, The Dead Husband Cookbook is such a serve. It's so freaking cool. It's so interesting. It really, really is. I love just learning about the celebrity's life, Maria. I love learning about her life and everything. I love seeing the main character go into paranoia, basically. And I love how when stuff starts getting revealed, the main character and how she's connected to everything and why she was brought onto this task onto the first place, why she was hired for this job to begin with. I was very impressed that it was different than you would imagine. The reveals and the reveals and everything were different than what you would normally expect with a thriller novel. So yeah, I've just found it really, really interesting and really surprising. Also, if anybody has read The Dead Husband Cookbook, can you please tell me if the recipes that are spread out through it, have you tried them and are they any good? Because I'm not cooking them because for multiple reasons, but I'm genuinely curious if the recipes spread throughout this novel, if anybody has tried making them and if they are any good or if they are just absolutely terrible. I'm very, very curious. So if you have read this book and you have tried the recipes, please let me know. Please let me know if they are any good. Anyway, a book that made you cry. Now, I was really trying to think hard for this question, and I can't say that any book has made me cry this year. I might be wrong, but I really can't remember any book that made me cry. But I do think the closest that I came to crying was with Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. It is this adult romance about these divorcees, this husband and wife that were, they got divorced, so now they're exes, but them slowly coming back together and reconciling their differences, basically. I just found it really, really beautiful. I really loved the writing. I loved the storytelling. I loved the characters. I loved how everyone felt flawed and everyone felt more grounded in reality that a lot of romance characters often are. A lot of romance characters are kind of above reality a little bit, they're kind of whimsy, but the characters in this one were very grounded and they were quite flawed, and I really, really liked that. I liked them having to confront everything about each other and themselves and their past and their present and their relationship that ultimately led to their downfall, and how they can move forward and how they can rekindle their spark. It was really, really beautiful. It was such a beautiful novel. It really, really is. And the writing is just so good. It really, really is. This is an adult romance novel. Not adult as in smutty, but adult as in mature writing quality. A book that made you happy. I would have to say First Time Caller by B.K. Boris. Now, obviously, there are a lot of books that made me happy this year, but just for the sake of picking one, I would have to say First Time Caller because it was very unexpected. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. I just really love the writing. I love the like whimsy. I love the charm. I love just everything. It's so cute. It really, really is. And also like typically in straight romances, like whether it be like a movie or TV show or book, like typically it's the woman who has to go through the journey of like learning to love again, learning to allow herself to be open to love again. But in this case, like the woman was very much on board with like, I am ready for love. I am ready to find love. Like everything's fine. And it was honestly the man who had to be like, okay, I need to learn how to love again. I need to learn how to let myself be open emotionally and vulnerable again and all this kind of stuff. And it was a really good flip on the trope. What books do you want to read by the end of the year? Now, there are quite a few. Basically everything that I have on my physical TBR. But I'm not going to put pressure on myself to get through all of those because I know that I can't. I know that I physically can't get through all of them, especially because like I am ordering a bunch of the novels that I am excited for in the second half of the year. So the only one that I'm going to put as an answer for this is Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, because again, I'm doing an entire reread of the Hunger Games series. But anyway, that is all of the questions answered in this video. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!